welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. My next guest is about to open a brand new show at Hampstead Theatre, The Divine Mrs. S. He was dazzling audiences last year as Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's a huge delight to be able to introduce the wonderful Gareth Snook. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you.
So I feel like, a lot of people nowadays, they might not be so familiar with Sarah Siddons. But when you look at her life, it was so extraordinary that I almost can't believe that a play hasn't been written about her before. What was your initial reaction to reading April de Angelis' script?
Yeah. Well. First of all, just to agree with what you just said, you would have thought that somebody would. What fascinating life she had, and she was a trailblazer in many ways. So it is extraordinary that no one's written, anything of significance about her up till now. But to answer your question, when I've read the play, when a play makes you laugh out loud when you read a play for the first time, you're thinking there aren't many plays that do that. And I just thought, wow, this is genuinely funny, genuinely sad, and paints an amazing picture of this amazing woman.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of actors, who do become famous and, who do really cement themselves in, the zeitgeist. And, Sarah Siddons' reputation really preceded her, being known as the Queen of Drury Lane. What do you think it was about, her that, resonated with 19th century culture so much?
Well, I think she was a trailblazer, and she wasn't afraid to, I guess, to, in a contemporary way, to take risks and chances. And I think any actor who's worth their weight has to take risks and make bold choices, so she did that, and she led the way for other actresses of the time, and after her, by exploring Shakespeare in a way that other actresses hadn't done before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at how the theatre industry was operating back then as well, it was very clear that she was very much front and center of it all. How would you say the theatre industry has also changed since Sarah Siddons' time too?
Gosh, well, I mean, thank goodness that women have a lot more respect and power than she did then. And that's the other thing we've got to mention about her, that she tried to take power for herself from the men that surrounded her, from her husband who collected all her wages, from her brother who was the manager of Drury Lane Theatre, and he decided what plays she did, and so she tried to take the power into her hands. So it's a very modern story in that sense. So, but thank God that times have changed. Quite rightly, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she very much seems like, one of the first, celebrities, in the country. How much about Sarah's life did you know as well, coming into play too?
Oh gosh, very little at all. I mean, I knew about as much as anybody would have done studying their drama at school. I knew of those great people like Garrick and the Kembles and Sarah Siddons. I knew of them, but I didn't know her life intimately at all. So it was fascinating to read all about her, and such an eye-opening life she had.
Yeah, and in the show, you're playing, not just one character, you're playing, multiple characters as well. Like you had, various connections to Sarah's life. How has it been, trying to figure out all of these different characters and navigating their relationships with, Rachael Stirling's, I can imagine, wonderful Sarah Siddons.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, it's funny. There are only two men in it. It's a cast of six, and there are two men in it, and Dominic plays Kemble, the brother, which is the lead role as well. And I play all the other men. So I play. How many do I play? 1, 2, 3, 4. one, two, three, four. Yeah, four men in it, and the quick changes are interesting. We'll find out exactly how we're going to do them next week when we go into technical rehearsals. But I literally go off as one character, and 3 lines later come on as somebody else. So our designer Les Brotherson is has everything under control
Mm.
on that front, with the change of costumes. But I love doing that, playing multiple roles. I have so much fun with them, and it's challenging, yes, but really rewarding.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're playing some real characters as well, like people like Thomas Lawrence as well.
Yeah.
How has it been coming to, a character like that too, and figuring out who
Well,
they are?
it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because when you're playing these real life people, yes, you can do a little bit of research on it and find out, but you don't want to create. I mean, your first port of call should be the script,
Mm,
and that's the writer's interpretation of that character. And that's what I do. I did a little bit of research for them all, and for Mr. Boaden, the theatre critic as well. But I think one has to interpret it through the writer's eyes and what
mm,
they've created and their version of that character. So with with Thomas Lawrence, I play him quite a well. He was a Lothario. I mean,
mm.
he was renowned for it, but I give him a little contemporary touch as well, which is great fun, and I have a lot of fun with Thomas Lawrence. Yeah,
Yeah, of course, I can imagine. As you say as well, it's a very female-centric piece. You're one of
yeah.
two male actors in the show. The
Mm.
writer is a woman. The director is a woman. How has it been, being a man amongst all these women?
Oh gosh, I'm used to it. I've worked. I mean, I've had the great privilege of working with some great female writers, directors, and actresses. So I've worked with Emma Rice quite a bit, and women have figured in my life prominently, and I'm a great admirer of the work that they do in theatre.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Hampstead Theatre as well, is a very special place. And I think it's always such a wonderful place to visit. They're such a great champion for new work and new writing and new
Yes,
writers too. How
yeah.
has it been, working in Hampstead Theatre? Has it felt particularly different to other theatres that you've worked in?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's such an intimate, beautiful theatre. It's a 400-seater, and that kind of intimacy is you don't get that in many theatres in London. So it's one of a very few, and
Mm,
it's such a shame, of course, that it's lost its Arts Council grant last year, which is appalling and a huge loss. But it's still going, and the people who work here have done a fantastic job with keeping the place open and running. But no, I haven't got into the theatre yet. We've had a look inside the theatre because there's a
mm.
play on at the moment. But I can't wait. Can't wait to get into the technical rehearsals next week. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a terrific space. I definitely agree. And as we say,
Yeah.
The Divine Mrs. Ash, it's a brand new play. No one's seen it before. Is it, particularly exciting or daunting, presenting a piece of work that no one's seen before?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do in the world. Crafting and shaping, or just being a part of a new work. So that in your own small way, you get to play a part in that, in shaping the dialogue, maybe, or the characters, and for the very first time. I mean, I don't think it gets much more exciting than that, in theatre.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've worked on some pretty big shows as well. You were on part of the original cast of, Wise Children and Sunset Boulevard,
Yes.
and also, Made in Dagenham as well. Can
Yes.
you normally tell, if a show is going to be a big success or not?
I think so. I think one can, I mean, one never knows, entirely until you've got an audience in front of you. But I'm very confident that this particular show people are going to love. I'll be amazed if they don't.
Yeah, I mean, how do you go about, deciding, what sort of shows you want to do as well, going, as you're picking through scripts?
Well, I mean, it's again, like I said earlier, is that if you do read a new script and and it's a comedy and you laugh out loud on your own, you just think, okay, there is something about this. There's something special about this, and so that's it. And also, you know, I because I've worked a lot in very big musical theatre houses in the West End and stuff, and you know, there's a part of me, passion of mine to work in these intimate small theatres as well. So whenever I get the opportunity, I jump at it. Yeah.
Yeah, did you always imagine yourself, doing these big musical shows, or were you always
No, no, I didn't. No, I didn't at all. In fact, I didn't imagine myself singing. I mean, I kind of started singing when I started working. I did work for people. They say, "Oh, can you sing?" I said, "Well, I suppose a little bit, whatever." But and they said, "All right, do you want to play this part in this musical?" But I think I learned my craft, singing craft, on jobs. That's how I learned. I didn't train or
Mm.
anything. So I guess it was just something that I was kind of born with. I don't know.
Oh wow. I mean,
Yeah.
last year, you obviously got to, play Willy Wonka, on the UK tour of
Mm.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it was, one of the first times that we really saw you in a big leading man role. How was it,
Yeah.
headlining, such a big production across the UK?
Well, I mean, it was daunting at first, and when I was offered it, well, my agent called me, so they want to see you for Willy Wonka. I thought, what? I'd never even crossed my mind. Like some parts you think, oh, you got your eye on, you think, oh, I'd love to play that one day or whatever, but it never really crossed my mind, and but as soon as I started rehearsing it, and even before I started rehearsing it, and I was studying the script, I thought, I know who this guy is.
Mm.
I just know him. You get that feeling sometimes. And the director said to me once, he said, Gareth, he said, I don't know where Willy Wonka starts, and I don't know where Gareth Snook ends and Willy Wonka starts. So that wasn't quite sure to take that as a compliment or not. But it's yeah, I just got him. I understood him.
Mm.
So that was lucky.
Yeah. What was it about him that you got that really connected with you?
Well, do you know what people don't think? Everybody in the world thinks they know Willy Wonka,
Mm.
even if they've not read the book, seen the movies. They think they think they know him, because he's that iconic. And yes, he's a little bit unpredictable. he's 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 got a wicked sense of humor, which I could relate to. But the one thing that people don't realize about Willy Wonka is his compassion.
Mm.
And it's not something, if you ask somebody about Willy Wonka, say, oh, what's the first word that comes, aspect of his character, comes into your mind, it wouldn't be compassion. But of course, at the end of the day, when he takes Charlie up into the glass elevator and hands him the keys to his lifelong ambition, his factory, and hands him the key, or Charlie the keys,
Mm.
that's pretty compassionate, isn't
Mm.
it? And of course, in the musical, I got to sing this beautiful duet with Charlie, "The View from Here," which is absolutely, it was one of my favorite moments of the whole show. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you were with Willy Wonka, for about a year, last year, when you're touring the
over a
show.
year. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like the character changed you in any ways, and made you look at life differently?
I'm not quite sure about that. I think I like to leave the characters, at the stage door. I know that, otherwise things could turn a bit creepy, particularly with Willy Wonka.
How was it working with so many children in the cast too?
It was great. Oh, we had a ball. We had four Charlies, two girls, two boys, 12-year-olds that we toured with us, and we got through four, and then we had to rehearse another four, so we had eight in all
Mm.
over the year. And oh wow, Phew, they were all absolutely amazing. I'm not kidding you. I mean, kids. I mean, they're like fearless. They're amazing, and they were all brilliant in very different ways.
Yeah, I can imagine. And as we say, you've done so many of these like massive shows, from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to Phantom to Sunset Boulevard. Are there still any shows that you still want to tick off the list, or is it very much new work that you're focused on now?
You know, I think one always is interested in new work. You know, crafting and being the first to explore new roles. I think that is something that I'm always keeping an eye out for.
Are there also any new shows that you're looking forward to seeing as well yourself too in the coming months?
Um, yes, there are a few. What is it that I was looking forward to? The trouble is because I've been on tour for a year, a lot of them already come off. So it's and I've missed a lot of theatre
Mm,
this year. I know that they're doing a musical version of Paddington, which is in the pipeline. But I
mm.
don't think it's going to open or get for another maybe year or two. But that's something I'd be really interested to see how. I know the director quite well, and I'd be really interested to know how that turns out.
Yeah, that should be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's been so wonderful talking to you. Just as a last question, what do you hoping the audiences will take away with them when they come and see The Divine Mrs. S?
Oh, I hope they take away a lot of joy because honestly, there's so much joy and so much love on the stage, as well as a lot of humor. So that's what I hope they take away with them. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Gareth Snook, thank you so much for joining us.
that's great. Thank you. Thank you.